If you gave me $1,000 to invest right now, I would drop it into these few names that I fully believe in. Now, when I talk about these few stocks, I'm talking about SoFi, I'm talking about Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, AMD, and Palantir. In my opinion, these are not just random hype stocks. They're showing up big in their earnings reports, and I'm going to break down exactly why I'm buying and what I'm watching. Also, how they fit into my long-term wealth strategy. Now, this is not financial advice by any means, just what I'm doing personally. So let's get into it to kind of have a look at my portfolio. Now, why I still buy individual stocks. Look, you've heard me talk in my videos before. I love ETFs like VU or QQQM, and to be honest, that takes up pretty much the majority of my portfolio. But I also like picking stocks. I think it's fun, and it lets me get in early, into early trends like AI or Fintech or cloud. And the key is just being selective and having conviction. These companies have solid track records and major tailwinds. Plus, once again, the Q2 earnings just came out, so it gives us a ton of insight into who's actually executing. So for the first stock that I individually buy, that's going to be SoFi. Now, in my opinion, SoFi is like the fintech kind of flywheel. So for their earnings report, I'm going to get into some technical numbers here. SoFi dropped $858 million in Q2 revenue. So that's up 44% year over year, which is absolutely massive. On top of that, they added over 850,000 new members. So now they have around almost 12 million members in total. Plus, personal loan originations are up 66%, home loans are up 92%, and student loans are up 35%. So to sum it up, SoFi just posted a 44% revenue growth and added nearly 1 million new users. So it's proof, in my opinion, that SoFi is quietly becoming kind of that all-in-one bank for kind of Gen Z and millennials, right? It's super easy to use, it's online, and a lot of kids like that nowadays. Now, while the stock didn't kind of skyrocket after earnings, it's building that kind of like sticky kind of ecosystem, right? So they have student loans, mortgages, banking, investing. And the nice thing is all in one place. And a lot of the times now, people cherish convenience. They like going to one app and seeing their banking, seeing their investing, seeing their loans kind of all in one spot. And I'm not expecting SoFi to kind of 10x overnight, but in my opinion, SoFi over the years can kind of become the Amazon of like finance for younger generations. As of right now, I'm currently up about 55% on SoFi. I have high conviction in SoFi, and I definitely think in the later years it can easily be a $40 to $60 stock. So Google, also known as Alphabet for their stock, has brought in $96.4 billion in Q2 revenue. So that's up 14%, and EPS beat $2.31. Cloud revenue soared to 32% and $13.6 billion. YouTube ads also popped around 13%. So Google, to sum it up, is just crushing earnings with $96 billion in revenue, and it's pouring a lot of that money it's making back into AI, which is making them way more than just a search engine. Google had a lot of negative sentiment around investors because people were nervous that OpenAI and ChatGPT was going to take away kind of that search engine market share from Google. But the truth is, Google owns half the internet. They own YouTube, they own Android. And what's cool about Google too, for a lot of people, if you're not familiar, they also own Waymo, which is the new self-driving cars, which I think are going to be very popular in the next coming years. And one of the most exciting parts is that they're spending over $85 billion in CapEx this year. And most of that's going to go to AI infrastructure. So they're not just, a search engine company anymore. Between Gemini, Google Cloud, their dominance in AI tools, I could see Google being a safe, long-term compounding place to put your money and expect, constant 10 to 20% yearly growth. So next on the list is Meta. Now, Meta's Q2 earnings were probably the strongest earnings report you'll ever see from a company. They were up 22% in revenue, so $47.5 billion in revenue, with a $7.14 EPS, which is up 38%. All at the same time, averaging around 3.4 billion daily users across platforms. They're also improving conversion rates using their AI tools for advertisers, which is a great sign for their monetization. Now, Meta absolutely printed money this quarter, growing 22% while using AI to boost that ad performance. So the truth is this, with Meta, they make a lot of their money through Meta ads. And everyone uses Meta ads because it's one of the best places to release your ads. If you look at any like lead generation company or online shop, e-commerce store, 90% of them are using Meta ads to drop their ads. They also own Threads, they own Instagram Reels, they own Facebook Marketplace, WhatsApp payments, and it's just an overall a solid company. And the truth is, they're just like Google. They're leaning hard into AI, and Zuckerberg has made it pretty clear that they want to build, the best super intelligence kind of product they can. So it's a bold, very bold goal. But I truly think that Meta is one of these companies that, in the next couple of years, I could easily see them being $1,000 stock. I think today they're up 12% at the time of recording this video, just day over day. So I could easily see them being a $1,000 stock in the long-term future for sure. Now, the next stock is going to be Microsoft. Now, I think Microsoft, look, it doesn't need hype. Microsoft is a super safe company, in my opinion, to invest your money in. It builds money quietly, steadily, and efficiency. Microsoft Azure is a beast. Everyone, I'm sure, if you work on a computer, you probably use Office 365. It's pretty much embedded into every corporation at this point. I'm pretty sure they also own LinkedIn, which is the social network for professionals. And partnering with OpenAI, they're now kind of like that enterprise face of AI. Also, their own AI Copilot is being integrated into everything from Excel to Microsoft Teams, and that adds a lot of reoccurring SaaS value pretty much everywhere. So Microsoft's one of my core holdings. It was the first kind of single stock that I started buying. Now, as far as their numbers go, they just keep on winning too. $76.4 billion in Q2 revenue. Azure is up 34%. So they're just riding the kind of AI wave and just growing year over year. They constantly grow. And more importantly, they're investing over $100 billion into AI infrastructure for the next couple of years. So in my opinion, they're going to be the new face of that enterprise AI. And if you want AI exposure with less risk, I think Microsoft is one of the safest plays out there for that. Now, for number 5, we have the chip king, which is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is the backbone of AI computing. While they didn't do an earnings report yet, we can pretty much already know that since they're powering the infrastructure of Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, pretty much everyone, NVIDIA, doesn't need that report out yet that we're going to assume is doing pretty good. I like to look at NVIDIA as the place that's like they're selling the pickaxes in the gold rush. We've all heard that saying before. And, anything from data centers to cloud providers, AI researchers, startups, everyone wants NVIDIA GPUs. And it's not just hardware anymore. They're building software platforms. And in my opinion, it's priced kind of for perfection right now. While, I'm being patient on certain entries, I'm definitely buying every single day of NVIDIA. And I think over the years, NVIDIA is just going to continue to grow and continue to be a solid performer on a year-over-year basis. So this one might catch a little people off guard, but the truth is I'm also buying AMD at the same time that I'm buying NVIDIA. Because in my opinion, AMD is kind of like the underdog of NVIDIA. It doesn't get the same love as NVIDIA, but in my opinion, they should. They're gaining ground in consumer and enterprise markets. Their MI300X chip is being tested, and in my opinion, when that releases, that's going to drive their stock up even more. They're aggressively pushing into AI chips, enterprise CPUs, and high-performance computing. And in my opinion, too, they're quietly taking market share with their powerful new chips. So I think at some point in time, they're going to have a pretty solid growth in the market, and that's going to drive the stock up even more. So AMD is one of those things that I also buy on a daily basis alongside NVIDIA. I want the gains from both, and I think where if NVIDIA is doing good and AMD is doing good, I think they both can do good at the same time. But I definitely think at some point in times, AMD can go up more percentage in a few days, whereas NVIDIA can go up more percentage in a few days compared to AI or AMD. So I also buy AMD as well. I think it's an underdog, but it has a lot of potential upside, especially in the next coming years. Now, my last stock here, stock number 7, is Palantir. This was one of the first, alongside Microsoft, this is one of the first stocks I started buying. And so far with Palantir, I'm up about 85%. This is my best performing individual stock. And Palantir, in my opinion, is kind of the sleeper AI platform. Now, the truth is, Palantir is probably the most risky play out of all these stocks. They've been misunderstood for years. A lot of people saw Palantir as just kind of like a military data company, and a lot of people still don't really know what Palantir even does. But in my opinion, what they're actually doing is building a platform for decision making used by both governments and enterprises. And now with their AI platform, they're helping organizations plug LLMs into real world operations. So Palantir, they're landing big government contracts and they're turning its AI platform into kind of a must-have for real-world data. Now, they, when it comes to their earnings, they were on about 932 million in revenue. And what's cool is they just scored a $100 million nuclear analytics contract. Plus, they're going to be expanding into private sector AI. So I think everything being said about Palantir, I think it's one of the strongest companies that you can invest in, but it's also going to have the highest volatility at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised if Palantir dropped 20% tomorrow because that's just the type of stock it is. It almost mimics the volatility of like cryptocurrencies where it can be up 30%, down 30%. In my opinion, when it comes to Palantir, if you want to buy into it, do research on the company and just buy and hold, because I truly believe in the next coming years, Palantir can be one of, if not one of the strongest kind of data decision-making companies there is. So those are the 7 stocks that I currently invest my money into on a daily and weekly basis. And look, I'm not just, throwing darts at a dartboard. I'm in my opinion, some of these are very, very safe compounders over time. Others are pretty volatile, but I have high conviction for in the years to come. But all of them are trends that I currently believe in. AI, cloud, data, fintech, and chips. So I dollar cost average, whether it's up or down, up 20%, down 20%, because at the end of the day, I am a long-term investor. I'm holding these for long-term, and I'm not trading every single headline that comes out. And as always, if you want to get into individual stock picking, please do your own research, look into the companies, look into the earning reports, see if that's a company that you want to buy, because this is not financial advice. I'm just letting you guys know what I currently buy right now. So if you buy individual stocks, I would love to know what you're buying right now in the comments. And if you got any value from this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.